I was staring at the living room wall like it was about to answer the question echoing in my chest. What changed? The house was clean. Too clean. Like someone had staged it. Candle burning in the corner, but she didn't even like candles unless guests were over. A glass of white wine, half full, lip mark not mine. Soft jazz playing from her Bluetooth speaker. She hated jazz. It was a Wednesday. No holiday. No occasion. Just the kind of night where you feel something thick in the air, a distortion. Like walking into a room and forgetting why you came, but knowing something isn't right. That was the night I realized my wife had already left me. Her body was still in the house, but whatever was left of us had packed its bags a long time ago. I didn't plan to come home early. It wasn't a setup. My last client of the day canceled, and for the first time in weeks, I had 2 extra hours. So I brought home dinner from that Korean barbecue place she always asked about but never wanted to go to. I thought maybe tonight we sit down like humans again. Laugh. Talk. Start over. I opened the door, expecting a greeting. Nothing. Just the jazz and the candle and the cold space that used to be her home. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, face up, unlocked. That never happened. She treated her phone like it contained state secrets. I didn't even mean to look. I didn't even have time to fight with myself about whether I should. It just happened. The text thread was open. His name was saved under something stupid like Tina Jim, but he clearly wasn't a Tina. The last message read, "He still doesn't suspect anything. I'll tell him next week, just let me handle it my way." And above that, a photo. Not explicit, but damning. His hand on her waist, her smile, her real smile, the one I hadn't seen in over a year aimed at someone else. Not me. I didn't breathe for 10 full seconds. I set the bag of food down like it might explode and just stood there, heart splitting with every buzz from the phone still lighting up. She was upstairs. I could hear the shower. I didn't go up. Instead, I walked out, drove around the block once, twice, 5 times. I didn't cry. I didn't punch the wheel. I didn't scream into the night sky. None of that cinematic nonsense. I just felt this cold, clear silence forming behind my eyes. A kind of detachment I didn't know I was capable of. I went back inside, deleted the food order receipt from my inbox, and sat on the couch. She came down 20 minutes later, damp hair wrapped in a towel, bathrobe loose. "Hey," she said, barely glancing at me. "Thought you had a late appointment." "Got canceled." I didn't even look at her. Just kept scrolling a blank screen, pretending to care about something else. "Cool. I'm gonna head to bed." Exhausted. No kiss, no nothing. Just that tone. The one you use when you're counting down the days. I nodded. I didn't sleep that night. I started a new email account. Opened a new savings account. Changed the passwords she didn't know I'd kept shared. I dug through every digital crevice of our lives, cloud backups, old Google photos, card statements. And I found him. Not just his name. His address. His work. His LinkedIn. He was a dentist. Married. 2 kids. A smug little man with a motivational quote in his bio. I memorized his face. I memorized everything. And I waited. Not for revenge. Not for some grand explosion. I waited for the moment she would lie to my face one last time. The moment she would choose her fantasy over the real world. I wanted to see it. I wanted to taste that betrayal in its purest, undiluted form. She didn't disappoint. She came into the kitchen 3 days later in a tight black dress I'd never seen before. Hair curled like she used to do when we were still dating. Full face of makeup. I was eating leftovers out of the fridge, pretending to scroll through the news. She tried to slip past me like I was a stranger in her house. "Going somewhere?" I asked without looking up. She hesitated. It was less than a second, but I caught it. A flinch in her step. She turned, fake casual, putting on that flat tone she thought passed for normal. "Just meeting Erica for drinks. Haven't seen her in a while." Erica had moved to Arizona 6 months ago. I nodded slowly like I was digesting that lie along with the cold noodles in my mouth. "Tell her I said hi." She didn't blink. Just smiled. "Will do." She left the house like it was on fire, quick, decisive, and without a backward glance. I gave it 10 minutes. Enough for her to think she was safe. Then I got in my car and followed her. She didn't go to any bar. She went straight to him. His house. The one with the red mailbox and the stupid wooden wreath on the door. She didn't even check her mirrors. Just walked up, rang the bell, and disappeared inside before I could finish my first breath. I parked 2 houses down, lights off. My heart was steady. Weirdly steady. Like my body had decided we were past panic. This was clinical now. Like a diagnosis. I waited an hour. 2. I wasn't sure what I was hoping to see. Maybe a moment of regret on her face. Maybe a hesitation before she walked in. But there was none. She looked comfortable. At home. Like she belonged there. It was the walk back to her car that broke me. Not because she was laughing. Not because he kissed her neck before she got in. But because she pulled out her phone and texted me, running a little late, Erica's going through some stuff. Don't wait up. I read it as her headlights passed me. She didn't even notice my car. I watched her disappear into the streetlight glow like nothing had happened. Like I didn't exist. The next day she acted like everything was fine. Sat across from me at breakfast, sipping coffee, scrolling her phone. So, what's your plan for today? She asked, like she hadn't just spent the night in another man's arms. I might stop by that hardware store, I said, staring at her. Thinking of building something. She didn't ask what. She never asked anything anymore. She left for her yoga class at 10. Same routine. Same leggings. But I didn't follow her this time. I didn't need to. The lie was complete now. Whole. Fully matured. She had become a stranger with my last name, and I was done pretending. By noon I was on the phone with an attorney. Not to serve her. Not yet. I had something else in mind. Something sharper. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. She didn't deserve either. No. I was going to let her bury herself. And I was going to hand her the shovel. The lawyer was young, too young, I thought at first. But sharp. The kind of man who didn't blink when I told him what I planned to do. I'm not looking to fight over property. I'm not here to argue about who gets the couch, I said. He leaned forward. So what are you looking for? Timing. He nodded, understanding faster than I expected. So you're not looking to win the war. You want to end it on your terms. Exactly. I laid it all out. The messages. The timeline. The photos. I didn't flinch. I wanted everything on the record before I even filed. No secrets. No delay. She wanted to play games behind my back. I was building a case right in front of her. The lawyer gave me advice. Quiet things. Safe things. Start moving money. Make copies of all documents. Don't react when she provokes. Smile. Be the perfect husband. Let her believe she's safe. That night I brought home flowers. She looked at them like they were poisoned. Everything okay? She asked, suspicious but trying to hide it. She placed the bouquet on the counter like it belonged to someone else. Just thinking I've been taking you for granted. Thought I'd remind you I still care. Her eyes flicked toward mine, then away. She didn't believe it, but she wanted to. She wanted to believe the man she was betraying was still blind. I appreciate that, she said, and forced a smile. It's sweet. I nodded. We should go to dinner. Just us. She hesitated. I knew she had plans with him. Her phone buzzed in her back pocket, and I saw her fingers twitch toward it. Torn. Maybe Friday? She offered. Work's been brutal. I already made a reservation. That cornered her. She couldn't say no without drawing suspicion. So she said yes. And that Friday we went to the same restaurant where I proposed to her 15 years ago. She dressed up like it was the first date. Not for me. For the illusion. For whatever fantasy she was still clinging to about being untouchable. She wore the necklace I bought her 2 anniversaries ago. The one she hadn't touched in months. Her phone was tucked into her purse, but I saw her checking it when she thought I wasn't looking. Dinner was quiet. Polite. We talked about nothing, like people who used to know each other. Then, halfway through the meal, I dropped it. I think we should get a divorce. The silence was immediate. Not a dramatic gasp. Not a protest. Just a pause, like she was rebooting. What? I sipped my wine and leaned forward calmly. You're not happy. I'm not stupid. I figured it was time we stopped pretending. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then she smiled. That condescending smile I hadn't seen since before the affair. If that's what you want. That was it. No denial. No tears. No guilt. Just, if that's what you want. I signed the papers the next morning. Calm. Detached. like cutting a cord that no longer led anywhere. She thought she won. She moved like it too confident, radiant, like she'd been handed a key to a new life and couldn't wait to show it off. A week later, she celebrated with him at that same restaurant. Our restaurant. The one she never wanted to go to anymore, unless it was with him. They sat at our old table. She wore that same smug grin. He leaned in close, whispering something that made her laugh. I walked in wearing a suit she'd never seen before, calm as a still lake. She saw me. Her smile faltered for a second, then returned wider, like she'd won twice. I walked right up to their table, looked him dead in the eye and smiled. "Congrats on your freedom," I said. Then I slid the envelope across the table. No words, just the crunch of sealed truth. She opened it with a laugh that died in her throat. I turned and walked out before they even finished reading the DNA results. They didn't come after me right away. I think they were too stunned. I had given her the one thing she hadn't calculated for: exposure. Real, humiliating, irreparable exposure. The DNA results were official, printed on the kind of paper that doesn't lie. Neatly highlighted in yellow was the line that made everything else irrelevant. Probability of paternity: 0%. That meant my son, our son, was not mine. 15 years of fatherhood turned into a ghost story with one envelope. I didn't need to stick around to watch it happen. I could imagine it clearly enough. Her face going pale. His cocky grin dissolving into panic. Her fingers trembling over the paper, trying to twist it into a lie fast enough to salvage her fantasy. But some lies are too loud to cover. I went home. Alone. Opened a bottle of scotch I'd been saving since our 10th anniversary. She had said no one drinks anymore and stuck it in a cabinet. I let it breathe for 10 minutes, then drank it like medicine. 3 hours later, my phone rang. She didn't leave a voicemail. Just called again. Then again. 6 missed calls. Then his name popped up: Bryce, the man she had risked our entire life for. He tried once. Then texted, "We need to talk." I turned off the phone. By morning, she was standing outside the house. No makeup, no dress, just jeans and the hoodie she always wore on Sunday mornings when we used to make pancakes and dance barefoot in the kitchen. She knocked like she still lived there. I didn't open the door. She started with pleading. Then it turned to shouting. I didn't answer. I watched her from the upstairs window, sipping my coffee like I was watching someone else's wife unravel on the lawn. Eventually she stopped. Just stood there, quiet, staring at the door like it might apologize. Then she pulled out her phone and called me. I answered. "You embarrassed me," she said, her voice low and shaking. "No," I replied. "You embarrassed yourself. I just set the table." There was silence on the line. "I can explain," she started. I cut her off. "I don't need your explanations. I need my peace back. You took it and I'm taking it back." "I didn't know." "Stop," I said, sharper than I intended. "You knew. Maybe not consciously, maybe not clearly. But deep down, you knew what you were doing every time you looked at him. At me, at him, our son." She didn't speak for a moment. Then, softly, she asked, "Can I come inside?" No, I hung up. Later that day, I got a call from Bryce. This time I picked up. He sounded hollow. The kind of voice you only hear from people who realize they're not the hero in the story anymore. "What do you want?" I asked. She said the test was fake. That you made it up. I actually laughed. A short, dry laugh with no humor left in it. Then she should get her own test. But she won't. She said he's yours. That this is all some... She's lied to both of us. I just chose not to keep pretending. Silence. Then he asked the one question that caught me off guard. "Do you still think of him as your son?" I didn't answer right away. I was staring at the photo on the mantel. Me holding a toddler at the park. Both of us laughing, covered in ice cream. "I don't know," I said finally. "But I know he's not yours either." And I hung up. The fallout didn't hit all at once. Came in waves, messy, choking, impossible to time. People talk about betrayal like it's a clean cut, like one moment you're fine and the next your world collapses. But it's not like that. It's slower, more surgical. Every detail that used to mean nothing starts to glow red in hindsight. Like the time he came home with a drawing he made in school. A family portrait. Him, her, and some tall guy with brown hair and glasses. "Who's this?" I asked, pointing. He said, "That's Daddy." I laughed then. I thought he meant me. Now I know he didn't. The house felt colder now, even in spring. Quiet in a way that wasn't peaceful. I hadn't told him yet. My son, the boy I raised. Not that he wasn't mine. I couldn't bring myself to. I didn't know if I ever would. But the space between us had already shifted. He noticed. Kids always notice first. "Why doesn't Mom live here anymore?" He asked one night, brushing his teeth with the Spider-Man toothbrush I bought him 3 years ago. "She needed space," I said. He frowned. "Is that like when she used to go to the gym a lot?" "Sort of." He nodded like that made perfect sense. Didn't. But I couldn't give him more than that. She tried coming to the house twice more. The first time I didn't open the door. The second time she brought him with her, our son. Used him like a key. I opened the door then, not for her, but for the little boy standing behind her, clutching his action figure like a hostage. She had this look, half desperate, half smug, like dragging him into this mess gave her leverage again, like she'd found a way back in. "We need to talk," she said with fake softness. "Not in front of him. He deserves to know what's happening." "No, you deserve to own it. He deserves peace." I knelt in front of the kid. "Hey, bud, go hang out in the living room. I'll be there in a minute." He nodded and ran off, oblivious to the war bleeding behind him. She stepped inside like it was still her house, like she hadn't torched it from the inside. "I made a mistake," she began, and I almost laughed again. She was still trying the script. Regret, tears, redemption. Only none of it rang true anymore. "One or several? Be specific." She folded her arms, shifting. "I didn't know. About him. I didn't save it." I cut in. "You had years to tell me. Years. And instead you gave me this performance. Day after day. Family dinners, birthdays, bedtime stories. All of it staged. That wasn't fake." "No? Because he thinks I'm his father. You think that's something I can just erase?" She looked down. Not guilty, just cornered. "I didn't plan for it to go like this." I stepped closer. "No, you planned for me to never know." Her face hardened then, the mask slipping. "What do you want from me?" "I'm here. I'm trying." "No, you're here because your fantasy blew up in your face. You're not sorry. You're stuck." She snapped. "You think you're so righteous, don't you? Like you were perfect? You never even noticed how lonely I was." There it was. The old trick. Guilt shifting. I let her talk. "You buried yourself in work. You stopped being fun. You became a husband," I said coldly. "A father. Provider. Sorry, I didn't become a circus clown to keep you entertained while you were crawling into another man's bed." She slapped me. Not hard, but sharp enough to remind me of the wall between us. I didn't flinch. She looked shocked. Maybe at herself, maybe at me. I stared at her like she was just some stranger who'd wandered into my house and started a fire. "You need to leave," I said. She hesitated, eyes darting toward the living room. "You can say goodbye, but that's it." She walked out a few minutes later, slower this time. My son hugged her at the door, confused. She kissed his forehead, then looked at me. "I want joint custody," she said. I didn't respond. I closed the door behind her like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The next morning started with a lawyer's letter slid into my inbox like a warning shot. She was serious about custody. Not just weekends and holidays, she wanted 50-50. Her tone had changed overnight. No more tears. No more "I made a mistake." This was her shifting into full survival mode, the way people do when they realize the house is burning and the doors locked behind them. The letter used all the right language. Committed co-parenting. Best interests of the child. It even threw in some veiled shade. Client is concerned about the emotional environment in the father's home. That one got a laugh out of me. I was the one keeping our son out of the line of fire, and she was the one dragging lawyers into his bedtime routine. I called my attorney. We scheduled a meeting. I brought everything: texts, photos, timelines, even receipts. If she wanted war, she was going to get it. But not the kind she expected. "You're not going to fight dirty?" the lawyer asked, flipping through the files. "No," I said. "I'm going to fight surgical. She wants joint custody. She's going to have to answer 100 questions under oath. And I'll sit there smiling the whole time." We filed a formal custody review the next day. Nothing aggressive, just a request for psychological evaluations and a full paternity audit. Standard in contested custody situations. Except this time, she wasn't the one holding the cards. That same afternoon, I got a message from Bryce. She's saying she doesn't know who the father is, that it might be someone else. The text sat on my screen like a live grenade. I called him. "She told me it was you," he said. "She told me it was never even a question." "And now?" I asked. "She's not sure anymore. Says it was a rough time. Things were confusing. I asked for a paternity test. She lost it." I stared at the wall. "So you don't know either?" He exhaled into the phone. "You think she's lying to both of us?" "She is lying to both of us," I said. "The only difference is you still want to believe her." He didn't answer. Later that week, she tried to call me. I ignored it. She sent a message: "This isn't who we are. Let's be adults. We can work this out." I didn't respond. Instead, I scheduled a private session with a family therapist. Not for me. Not for her. For our son. I wasn't going to let him be the collateral damage in this. The therapist asked if I wanted to attend the first session. I said yes. My son sat on the couch, swinging his legs, holding a stuffed tiger. He looked small. Too small to be dealing with this. The therapist asked simple questions. He answered in bursts. Happy memories. School stuff. Then she gently asked, "Do you know why your mom doesn't live with you right now?" He looked at me. "It's okay," I said. He thought for a moment. "Because she made Daddy sad." That broke something in me. Not rage. Not revenge. Just grief. Pure and simple. The kind that settles in your bones and doesn't move. "She didn't mean to," he added quickly, like he was trying to protect her. "I know," I said. "Sometimes grown-ups forget how to be nice to each other." He nodded like that made sense. It didn't. But it would have to do for now. On the way home, I got another call. Unknown number. I let it ring. Then I picked up. "Hey," she said. "I heard about the therapist. I'm doing what's best for him. I'm his mother. I should be involved. You should have thought of that before turning him into a bargaining chip." She paused. "You know, for someone who claims to care, you're acting like I'm the enemy." "No," I said. "You made yourself that. I just stopped pretending." Silence again. "I want to talk. In person. No lawyers. Just us." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I hung up. We met in a public park. Neutral ground. No lawyers, no kid. Just a cracked bench under a tree where we used to sit and eat sandwiches on lazy weekends before life turned into court filings and paternity tests. I got there early. She was already waiting. Her face had changed. Not physically, but there was something behind her eyes now. A tightness, a calculation. Like she was measuring every second of silence between us. She didn't say hi. She just went straight into it. "I'm not a monster," she said. "No, you're just a liar." Her lips pressed together. She didn't deny it. That part of the play was over. "I want us to figure this out without making it uglier than it has to be." "You crossed that line a long time ago," I replied. She shook her head like I was being difficult. "You're acting like I planned all this." "You planned enough," I snapped. "You planned the lies. You planned the secrecy. You planned the cover stories. And now that it's blown up in your face, you're trying to steer the wreckage. I didn't plan for him to not be yours." "But you suspected." She looked away. "I remember the timing. I remember the fights. You were different. Distant. And then suddenly pregnant. Like it was a solution, not a miracle." She didn't answer. I leaned forward. Tell me something. When he was born, when I was holding him for the first time, when I said he had your smile, what were you thinking? Her hands were in her lap, wringing each other. I was thinking I wanted it to be true. But you knew it wasn't. I didn't want to ruin everything. And now? She finally met my eyes. Now it's already ruined. For a second, I saw the truth land in her. Not just the guilt, the loss. The reality that no matter what happened next, the version of her life where she came out clean was gone. That reality was never coming back. I'm not trying to take him from you, she said quietly. I can't lose him completely. You don't get to frame this like you're a victim. I am a victim in some ways, I cut her off with a sharp laugh. You lit the fire. You don't get to scream about the smoke. Her voice got smaller. He loves me. He also trusts me. Do you know what that means? Really means? That means when this all comes out, when he asks questions I can't keep dodging, I have to lie to him to protect you. Or I tell him the truth and risk breaking his heart. Tears welled up in her eyes. It didn't move me. Not anymore. She whispered, what are you going to do? I don't know, I said. But I'll decide. Not you. Not the courts. Me. Because I'm the one who stayed. I'm the one who showed up. She wiped her face like it mattered. Like the scene could still be rewritten. I stood up. She stayed sitting. As I turned to leave, she called after me. Do you hate me? I stopped. No, I said over my shoulder. Hating you would mean I still cared enough to feel something that deep. You don't matter enough for that anymore. The next time she tried to reach me, it wasn't through a call or a message. It was through his school. I got a voicemail from the principal. Hi, Mr. Carson. Just wanted to follow up on the conversation your wife had with us about potentially adjusting the pickup schedule for your son. She mentioned you'd agreed to a few changes, and I hung up before the sentence finished. She'd gone behind my back. Again. Not through a lawyer. Not through me. Through our son's school. Like she could just rewrite the agreement if she smiled the right way and used the right words. Like she still had access to that control panel in my life. I didn't wait. I drove straight to the school, walked into the office, and asked to speak with the principal. Calmly, respectfully, but directly. Whatever conversation she had, I said, disregard it. We are in a custody process. Any changes go through the court. And through me. The principal looked uncomfortable. She said it was temporary. That you were busy. She lied. Silence. Then a slow nod. Understood. I walked out, past the office windows, past the playground where he was sitting on a bench next to a teacher's aide. Legs dangling, eating a small pack of animal crackers. He looked up, saw me, waved. I waved back. That night, I got a knock at the door. It was her. No calls, no texts. Just bold enough now to show up at the house like she still belonged here. You really had to go to the school? She said, arms folded like I had done something wrong. You really thought you could pull that without talking to me? I shot back. What was the plan? Just casually hope I wouldn't notice he wasn't home for dinner on my night. I was trying to be flexible. No, you were trying to control the narrative again. She stepped inside without being invited. Walked straight into the kitchen. Like muscle memory. Like she could still move through this house without permission. I'm his mother. I get a say. You forfeited your say when you dragged your drama into his life like a storm front. You don't own him. I raised him. Her face twisted into that look she used to make when I said something too honest for her comfort. Like I'd said the quiet part out loud and she hated me for not keeping it polite. Do you think you're the only one who's hurting? She hissed. I wake up every day knowing I blew up the only life that ever made sense. You think I don't pay for that? You think this is fun for me? I stepped in closer, the kitchen counter between us. No. I think you're desperate. And I think desperate people make dangerous decisions. She was breathing hard now, but it wasn't sadness. It was frustration. It was losing grip. I'm not the villain, she said, but even she didn't believe it. You're not the hero either, I said. You're just a person who made a choice and hoped no one would look too closely. And now the lights are on. We stood in silence. Then she tried one more angle. Her voice soft, fragile. He still calls you Dad. And I always will be, I said. Even if the blood says otherwise. But you? You're not just the woman who lied. You're the one who used that lie like a weapon. And now you want sympathy. Her face crumpled just for a second. Then she caught herself. She turned, walked to the door, opened it. But before leaving, she looked back at me. You think this ends with you walking away clean? I didn't blink. No, I said. I think it ends when you stop mistaking damage control for redemption. She left. The court date was set. 3 weeks out? Just enough time for the tension to ferment into something razor-sharp. She lawyered up, upgraded, actually. Switched to someone with a reputation for courtroom theatrics. Flashy suits, louder than necessary arguments, the kind of guy who treated custody hearings like auditions for legal dramas. I wasn't intimidated. I was tired. But a clean kind of tired. The kind you feel before finally taking your hands off the wheel and letting the truth do what it was always going to do. My lawyer and I prepared everything. Documentation, witness statements, even a breakdown of the emotional inconsistencies in her behavior since the separation. Not just from me, but toward our son. Unstable scheduling, missed pickups, emotional volatility. Nothing outrageous, but enough to show a pattern. Then something unexpected happened. The kid, our kid, came home with a drawing. It was him, me, and her. But she was far away in the picture. Tiny. Outside the house. He had drawn thick red lines between her and everything else. What's this? I asked gently. He shrugged. That's just where people go when they leave. I nodded, swallowing glass. And then he asked, in the smallest voice, is it my fault? That hit me like a truck. My throat locked. My chest stopped working. I knelt beside him and said the only thing I could. No. None of this is your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Grown-ups just forget how to do things right sometimes. He looked down at the drawing again. Mommy said you're trying to make her go away. I breathed slowly. I'm trying to make sure you don't get stuck in the middle. That's different. He nodded like he got it. But I knew he didn't. Not really. How could he? He was a kid stuck in a game he never agreed to play. That night I wrote a letter. Not to her. To him. I didn't know when I'd give it to him. Maybe not for years. But I needed to put it somewhere. All the things I couldn't say out loud without risking damage. About how I loved him no matter what. About how he was the best thing that had ever happened to me even if he wasn't mine by blood. About how I never wanted him to feel like a weapon or a prize in a war between two broken adults. The next morning I dropped it in the safe. And then I made a call. To Bryce. He answered like he'd been waiting for it. She's unraveling, he said before I even spoke. She's not sleeping. She told me she might leave the state. That stopped me cold. With him. She didn't say. Just said she was done with all of it. That the courts are rigged. That no one understands her. She was going to run. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, she was already packing her escape bag. I could feel it. She's not stable, I said. She's scared, he replied. No, I corrected him. She's reckless. And reckless people don't get custody. We hung up without saying goodbye. That night, I filed for an emergency custody review. Not to punish her, but to protect what little structure was still left. I didn't know if the court would grant it, but I knew this. If she was willing to twist everything, lie to everyone, use our son as a shield, then I had to do more than wait for her to set another fire. I had to be the one holding the extinguisher. Courtrooms have a strange kind of silence. Not like a library, not like a church. It's heavier, more alive. Like the walls are waiting to see who's going to lie first. She walked in 10 minutes late. Hair perfect. Makeup light but precise. Dressed in a pale blue blouse like she'd read somewhere that soft colors made people look honest. Her lawyer flanked her like a bodyguard, all confidence and swagger. I didn't look at her. I looked at the judge. I looked at the table. I looked at my son's name on the custody file and let my mind steady itself. The hearing started with formality. Introductions. Opening statements. Her lawyer painted her as a devoted mother caught in the gears of a bitter ex-husband's revenge fantasy. He used words like vindictive, manipulated, misunderstood. He spun gold out of lies, and she sat there nodding like it was gospel. My lawyer didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He just placed the truth on the table, one careful piece at a time, the timeline of her affair, the overlapping periods during her pregnancy, the paternity test results, the messages to Bryce, the school incident, her threats, her manipulations, her plan to leave the state. Then he paused, looked at the judge, and said, "We are not here to destroy a mother. We are here to protect a child from a pattern of instability and dishonesty that this woman refuses to acknowledge or address." She cracked then. Not loudly, but visibly. Her foot started tapping under the table. Her fingers dug into her arm. When it was her turn to speak, her voice trembled, not with emotion, but with effort. She was trying to keep the mask on. "I made mistakes," she said. "But I love my son. And yet you lied to him. To his father." To this court, the judge replied flatly. That was the first moment I saw something real in her. Not regret. Not remorse. Just fear. Real, raw fear. She realized this wasn't about winning anymore. This was survival. The judge recessed for an hour to deliberate. When we came back, everything felt like it was on fire under my skin. I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. Custody? Closure? Revenge? Maybe I just wanted to stop feeling like I was drowning in a life I didn't recognize. Then the judge spoke. Sole legal custody is awarded to the father. I didn't hear the rest. My ears went hot, the room slowed down. I saw her mouth twist into something between disbelief and a cry she wouldn't let out. She started saying something to her lawyer fast, panicked. He shook his head. She stood up and left without looking at me. Later, I picked up my son from school. He ran up, backpack bouncing, eyes bright. "Hey, Dad," he said. "You're early. Just felt like being the one to see you first today," I said. We got ice cream. We talked about nothing, cartoons, baseball cards, dinosaurs. It was the first time in months I felt like the ground under me wasn't cracking. That night, when he was asleep, I pulled out the letter from the safe. I didn't give it to him. I wasn't ready to hand over that weight. Instead, I wrote a new one. Not for him. For me. A list of every lie I let slide. Every sign I ignored. Every truth I swallowed because I loved her too much to believe she was capable of what she became. And at the bottom, in capital letters, I wrote, "Never again." That's where it ends. Not with a dramatic explosion. Not with revenge. Just with me free. And her? She gets to live with the silence she created. Every time the door closes, every time the phone doesn't ring, every birthday where our son doesn't ask for her first, she'll hear it. That's not justice, but it's enough.